Well, before we head into the fall, it's hard to forget Indiana's summers are only getting hotter, and those high heat days are especially dangerous for farm workers and other people who work outside. But as Indiana Public Broadcasting's Rebecca Thiel reports, right now there are few laws to protect Indiana farm workers from extreme heat.
In August, farm workers filed into the basement of a former church in Odin at the end of a long day of picking watermelons. It's still about 90 degrees outside and feels even hotter. Even in this small room, a fan is struggling to keep everyone cool. Once the workers get settled, Miriam Sonderberg of the nonprofit Proteus starts a training on heat and pesticides in Spanish. She asks for a volunteer to lay down on the floor like someone who's just passed out from the heat. She asks another what they would do. Sonderberg suggests bringing him water, and once he can sit up, asking him some questions to make sure he's okay. Sonderberg tells workers they need to drink water, take breaks, wear loose-fitting clothing, and watch out for each other. Sounds easy, right? But some farm workers feel like they can't do these things.
They believe that drinking more water will make them go to the bathroom more often, and taking more breaks means less hours worked, meaning less hours paid, or even getting in the mindset of the employer, knowing that, like, oh, these people are going to take breaks too long, so I'm not going to employ them again next year.
But not taking a break could mean risking your life. There are few laws to protect farm workers in extreme heat, and though Proteus's heat training is free, it isn't mandatory. Agricultural workers are 35 times more likely to die from the heat than workers in other industries. In July of 2020, a young man named Jorge collapsed in the heat while detasseling corn. He came to Northwest Indiana to work alongside his dad. It was only his second day on the job.
From what I understood, they didn't have a plan in place, meaning that, 3 go in, 3 come out, 5 go in, 5 come out. And he started getting sick, and he did tell someone that he wasn't feeling good. And by the time they found him, by the time it came to it, even when the paramedics, he was already he was already gone.
Rivera was a farm worker herself. She says it can be hard for corn detasselers to even breathe with the heat and all the clothing they wear, and some of them might feel pressured by their employer to work through breaks to meet deadlines. Researchers at Emory University found about half of the farm workers they studied in Florida had body temperatures at or above 100 degrees, essentially a fever.
And oftentimes the symptoms that they report are, muscle pain, nausea, very much the same symptoms that we have when we have a fever.
Chica says some workers are dehydrated so often it does short-term damage to their kidneys. It could even be causing chronic kidney disease, but researchers aren't sure. Right now, California, Washington, and Oregon are the only states that have laws that specifically protect outdoor workers from extreme heat. Several other states have tried to pass such laws and failed. Chica says people in the agricultural industry sometimes argue these changes would be too difficult to implement, and that they already have ways of keeping their workers safe.
But if they were already put in place by the growers and the people, the businesses that they represent, then we wouldn't have these statistics that say that people are dying from heat-related deaths at such alarming rates.
Indiana's Occupational Safety and Health Administration can't have rules stricter than federal ones, and the federal government only has guidelines right now. That leaves many farm workers in Indiana unprotected. OSHA is working on federal heat standards, but Chica says there's no telling when or if those will come out. In the meantime, she says, farm workers continue to die in the heat. The United States needs farm workers. Without them, we wouldn't eat. We spoke with a man from Guanajuato, Mexico, who asked that we not give his name. He's been coming to Indiana on a visa to pick broccoli and corn. He says it's not easy working in this heat. And if we value that work, we need to start valuing workers' lives. For Indiana News Desk, I'm Rebecca Thiel.
Farm workers and their employers can find resources through Indiana Legal Services and its Workers' Rights Protection Project.